Hello everyone, it's Benny, and welcome to a special bonus video on occlusion culling. Today, we will not be talking about another occlusion culling technique. Instead, what we're going to be talking about is how occlusion culling works in practice. Specifically, what sort of scenes occlusion culling tends to work well on, and what sort of scenes it tends to work not quite so well on. So, let's go ahead, let's get into it. I have 3 example scenes for you. We're going to look at each scene with occlusion culling and without occlusion culling, and then we're going to talk about why it did or didn't work well, and how you can apply that to your own games and designs and determining where various occlusion culling techniques may or may not be helpful. So, let's fire up our first example scene. This one might look familiar to some longer-term viewers of my channel, because this is the first level of our Wolfenstein 3D clone from about 5 years ago. Yeah, here it is. Granted, without any enemies, or doors, or weapons, or anything except the level geometry itself, but still. So yeah, here it is. And as you can see, actually I haven't explained that yet. So, the number to pay attention to in this console here is this first number, the 1644, because that is the number of triangles that the renderer is drawing in a single frame. So as you can see, it's drawing every single triangle every single frame, because, well, we don't have any occlusion culling enabled. And granted, 1644 polygons is not that much. It's not a huge deal at all in this particular mesh, which is why I never did any occlusion culling or anything fancy like that in that series. But you can see how this might apply in a more complicated scene. You can see how this might apply if, say, this was a bigger level with more complicated geometry. And, well, yeah. You can see how if this was really big, really complicated, there's some room to potentially cull some hidden things here and maybe save a few polygons for, well, something you might be more interested in doing. So that's what this is like without occlusion culling. Let's see what occlusion culling can do for it. Alright, so let's fire it up with occlusion culling enabled and see what happens. So, if I fly into my scene, you immediately notice there is a huge reduction in the number of polygons being drawn. Right now it's drawing 86 polygons. That's ridiculous. That's over an order of magnitude less than it was drawing before. Granted, it spikes if I start going somewhere, and it appears my occlusion culling code has a slight glitch in it. I'll have to look at that, but you get the general idea. For the most part, it is doing what is correct, and it is culling a huge amount of polygons. And, oh dear, I definitely have a couple glitches in here. I'll have to look at that. It might just be unhappy because my camera started outside the map. That's very plausible. But nevertheless, minus the glitches, I'm going to look into that off screen in just a moment. You get the point. For a level like this, occlusion culling can really help the number of draws you have. It can cut them by a huge factor, and you can use all those polygons for something else. So this type of scene is a really good case for occlusion culling. If you have a sprawling, maze-like level with lots of things occluding each other, then, of course, occlusion culling is going to help you a whole lot, assuming you actually manage to build your occlusion culling structure with the camera inside the level, unlike me. So that is what happens in this particular scene. Also, something I should mention. The occlusion culling algorithm I'm going to be using for all these scenes is software occlusion queries in a software renderer. So yeah, it's a whole software renderer. We're doing software occlusion queries. Nothing fancy, not masked anything, but yeah, that's the algorithm we're using. Which shouldn't make a difference, really, because we're comparing the geometry, not the algorithm. But yeah, just so you know. So, now let's look at our second example scene. It is, yeah, your standard run-of-the-mill terrain mesh. It is 8,192 polygons, which actually isn't too terribly far from what you might expect in a patch of terrain mesh in a more general terrain system. So this is a pretty practical example. Terrain systems, pretty common in games. There usually is a lot of advanced technology and optimization specifically for them, because they can be such a problem, especially in big open world games. So, yeah. This is what it's like with no occlusion culling enabled. 8,192 polygons. Now granted, this is a pretty flat mesh. If you're looking from above, there's probably not too much occlusion culling could do. But if I'm in, say, a land rover, imagine I'm the Curiosity rover roaming around in here, you can imagine I could probably cull a lot of the mesh that's hiding behind all the bumps and ridges. So, well, that's the theory anyways. Let's see what happens in practice. Let's see how actual occlusion culling algorithms handle this type of scene. Alright, so let's try with occlusion culling enabled this time. And the first thing you'll notice is now there's a build time. We're going to have to build a spatial data structure for this to occlusion cull against, otherwise we'd have a single mesh. We can't do anything with that. So we've split this up into a whole bunch of much smaller meshes, like I talked about in some of the earlier videos in the series. And as you can see, our ridge theory seems to be pretty correct. If I'm playing Curiosity rover, I'm just looking around, a whole bunch of the polygons are getting culled when I'm roaming around. It's at least half, oftentimes 4 times or more. So yeah, if you're doing Curiosity rover, the video game, or something else where you'd be very close to the terrain a lot of the time, occlusion culling could actually help you in these scenes, contrary to conventional wisdom. Where things start breaking down, though, is if you start backing off. You might notice, hang on a second, Benny. Why is this suddenly showing a 31,000 polygon rendering? This is only an 8,000 polygon mesh. Why am I rendering 5 times as many polygons as are actually here? That's because spatial partitioning, by necessity, adds extra polygons so that it has an even split. And unfortunately, well, that means you have extra polygons. If you can't really take advantage of those splits to do occlusion culling effectively, then all those extra polygons are wasted. They're not giving you anything, they're just extra overhead. So this is something you have to be careful of in practice when dealing with scenes with occlusion culling. If you're adding more polygons in splitting up your scene to render it, then you are saving with occlusion culling, then occlusion culling is hurting you, and you shouldn't be splitting up that mesh to begin with. You can still use occlusion culling, just you won't be able to split it up to do any better. So like this mesh would still be 8,192 polygons no matter what. If I had, like, say, I flew back and there's a warship flying between me and this terrain patch, then yeah, I could still occlusion cull in that sense. But I wouldn't be able to cull the individual ridges. I wouldn't be able to play Mars Curiosity rover anymore. So everything's a trade-off. You want to be careful to make sure you're doing enough divisions that you have effective occlusion culling, but not so many that you run into this issue. Which again, not an issue playing Curiosity rover. If you're playing aerial fighter game, then yeah, this is a huge issue. So that is the lesson from this scene. Be careful how much you split up your scene, and make sure it makes sense for the type of game you're developing. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention it. The method I'm using to split this is a BSP tree. So, here we are on our final test scene. It is sort of a cave cube. So this is a bit of an interesting scene, and that it's a little bit of a compromise between the high density, everything's occluded version of the wolf level, and the more openness of the terrain mesh. So we have a cube. If I fly over, there's a monkey head on top, just because monkey heads. And the big feature is there's this tunnel leading around, there's this upper tunnel interconnecting it, and by the way, these holes are intentional. They're one-sided polygons, just because that can confuse the hell out of some partitioning and occlusion systems, and I figured it's a good thing to have in a test scene. There's also a hidden tunnel underneath that you have to literally fly through the world to find, and this little cone thing. There's a lot of things to this, and this is designed to sort of simulate a 3D level in some sense, where there's 3 dimensions going on, there's enough occlusion that it might be worth it, but not so much that it's an obvious win. I'm sure you can imagine a scenario where the culling of these polygons here, because, I mean, as you see, the polygons are blocking things like this. They're pretty big polygons. This is a pretty big polygon type of scene, so it might not necessarily be saving a lot by occlusion culling here, because there's just not that many polygons to occlude. But yeah, that's what it is. It simulates your sort of general 3D level, and it has a lot of interesting edge cases, like the completely invisible tunnel and the one-sided polygons, just to screw with things and see if everything can be handled correctly. So what does happen when we throw on occlusion culling for this scene? So, occlusion culling is now enabled, and as before, we have the build time, because we have to partition the scene into proper segments. But here we are, and as you can see, we already have a reduction. It's already at half from this particular point of view. And turning around the middle, again, a lot of things are culled. If I've cut it completely out, of course everything's culled because nothing's even on camera. If I look towards it again, uh-oh. Yeah, this is what I was talking about with the big polygon issue. We're already back to the same number of polygons without occlusion culling, and we're just sort of looking through the gap. Now if I back off a bit, this gets a little bit better because we're not looking directly through this portal here. If I fly through the portal, things also get better. It's really, the issue is when the portal is partially visible because it's hard to see what is and isn't visible. From the occlusion culling algorithm's perspective, that is. If I fly up to the monkey head, things also pretty okay, which makes sense because this polygon really is covering most of the scene. There's just really the monkey head, so this is also a good point of view for occlusion culling. Flying inside the tunnel itself, it's also alright. It's a couple of spikes here and there, but it's generally a win. Fly down to this hidden tunnel, I have another glitch for some reason. I guess I didn't completely cover all the edge cases when I changed everything up, but that's okay. It seems to... It's better than what happened with the Wolf 3D clone, so I'm not complaining. Well, on the surface it appears to not be as bad as that. I'll say that. And yeah, if I fly down, this is where things get really bad, because here is pretty much the worst case scenario. It has this huge tube, which is in 3 dimensions, so it's going to get sliced up a whole bunch. It has a portal at the top, so that's where it can't really do a lot of occlusion. There's a monkey head at the top, which another big polygon thing. So yeah, there's a lot of things in this particular point of view that aren't jiving very well with our algorithm. We're seeing nearly doubling the base number of polygons. So this is a loss from this hole perspective. If I fly through the hole, oh, interesting. I expected to get, I mean, it did get better, but I expected to get a little bit more better than that, if that makes sense. Interesting. So I suppose the monkey takes up more than I expected. I wonder if that holds true looking down. No, that's about what I expected. Okay. So apparently the monkey face just gets sliced up a ridiculous amount for some reason. That's interesting. But yeah. Point being, it's not perfect. It always depends on how you're using the scene. Occlusion culling does tend to work better with some scenes than others. If you have lots of dense occlusion, especially against higher poly things, occlusion culling tends to work very well. In scenes like the Wolf 3D clone, it works well. If you have the ridges blocking things, like in the train scene, that's good. If you have tunnels that block everything, like in this scene, that works well. The issue, as always, it depends on your usage. If you have a scene like this, and I have another glitch, that's nice. If a scene like this, things get a little crazy from this perspective because, yeah, occlusion is working, but at this point, it can't occlude enough. It can't remove enough geometry to justify all the extra cuts that went into slicing up the mesh so that it could be occluded. So as always, consider your game usage, consider how your game's going to be exploring the scene. If exploring like this is not really going to be looking up, then this is probably a win to do occlusion in this scene. But you also want to consider how much you sliced it up. Right now I'm doing pretty extreme slicing on this scene. If you reduce the amount the scene is sliced up, you might get potentially better performance from some scenes at the cost of not being able to cull quite as much from occlusion. By the way, note, this handles the double-sided polygons correctly. So there. That's good. That means the algorithm seems to be reasonably robust, minus that one edge case that's causing it to sometimes falsely say occlusion. I bet I'm just like off by 1 or something, where it's just like 1 pixel off in the occlusion check. Something like that. But nevertheless, that's the general idea. Hopefully that gives you some idea of what sort of scenes occlusion culling can work well in, what sort of scenes they don't, and how you could potentially configure your scene to be better oriented to occlusion culling. Now granted, in this video I only did BSP trees and occlusion queries. You can get similar results with other spatial structures, like say cutting up with an OCK tree or a KD tree, or whatever your favorite spatial structure is. And in some cases, that could potentially work better. So you have to experiment. It's all about trying new things, just trying to get everything as balanced as well as possible, because everything is a trade-off. And yeah. And other occlusion culling algorithms, other than occlusion queries, of course, they're going to have different properties. If you did potentially visible set rendering for this, then that would probably increase the number of polygons rendered, but on the flip side, it would cut the cost of occlusion culling down. So, again, also a trade-off. If you did portal rendering, you'd probably get reasonably comparable performance, I'd suspect. That's just going on intuition. That could be completely wrong, but intuition tells me you could expect portal rendering to do about as well as this is doing. So, there you go. With that, that is everything I have for this video and this series. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned, and I hope you're ready to make some awesome games with your newfound occlusion culling badassery. Thank you, and I will see you next time.